I happen to have another Facebook account laying around, created especially for this course. That's a completely new user, and I added that user as a tester to the Trip Company STS Facebook app. You can do that in the Roles tab at your app dashboard. Let's see what happens when we log in as that user. As expected, Facebook asks us permission, and we get an error message, no existing account found. That makes sense, there's no matching email address. What we want to do in such a case is create an account for that user, using the information which we got from the external identity provider. We do that in the same method as we worked in the previous demo, authenticate external async. Let's open that one. We want to comment this out because we don't want to return an error now, we want to create a new account. We start out by creating a new account and adding the external identity provider, Facebook, as a login provider to the user logins list. One important thing to notice here, we don't generate a password field or anything of the likes. This user has chosen to log in with Facebook. We shouldn't force him to choose a password. This user will thus only be able to log into his Facebook account at the moment, while the existing users we have can choose. They can log in with Facebook or with their existing username password combination. Then we'll want to add claims for the user. We got some information from Facebook, so we can use that info to fill in the user claims list. We'll want to keep given name, family name, and email. Important to notice here is that this piece of code is dependent on the external identity provider and on the code we previously wrote. For example, Google might return other keys for the claims. That's why we check if the external identity provider is indeed Facebook. In our case, we've already done some claims transformation in the unauthenticated method of the Facebook authentication middleware. This is why we can refer to the claim types by given name and family name instead of first name and last name. If we wouldn't have, we would refer to the claims by the types coming from the external identity provider. Let's go back to the custom user service. The next claim we'll have to add is the role claim. There is no role concept at Facebook, so we'll have to give a default role here, free user. We'll look into a way to let the user add additional information on registration later on in this module. But still, even ignoring that for a moment now, isn't this set in stone role the same as what we did when we used Facebook login in a previous demo? Well, no. The difference this time is that we now actually created a user account, which we can manipulate later on. The free user role is the default value, but this can be changed at any given time by a user's action. That wasn't the case previously, because in the previous case, any user who'd log in through Facebook would always have the free user role, forever. Lastly, we add the user to our user store, which effectively saves the user, and we return an authenticate result as we already did before. Let's set a breakpoint and run this. We've hit the breakpoint, there was no user with a matching email. The email address value is kevin.docs@outlook.com. That one doesn't exist yet in our user store. Let's continue. And there we go. Kevin Pluralsight is now logged in through Facebook. It's a new user, so we only see the public trips as expected, and he's in the free user role, so we don't see an add trip button. Is that it? We now know how to create a user account from scratch through a registration link. We know how to link an external identity provider to an existing account, and we know how to create a new user from an external identity provider. There must be a way in between these, starting from data we get from an external identity provider and then asking for additional input. But first, while we're at the subject of external identity providers, we're going to tackle another one, WS Federation in combination with Windows Authentication. Afterwards, we'll use that to ask for additional input during login.